What if the difference between success and failure isn't simply talent or knowledge or opportunity, but the emotions driving our decisions? For my friend, Bob Raybould, he's the creator of Success by Emotions and the author of a book bearing the same name. He spent the better part of 5 decades studying how our emotional state influences our performance, leadership, decision-making, our relationships, and long-term success. His work centers around the powerful idea that emotions such as certainty, clarity, confidence, gratitude, and excitement can shape our emotions and our actions long before the results of these actions become visible. In this episode of Let's Have This Conversation, I had the opportunity to sit down with Bob to have a conversation about emotional intelligence, peak performance, mindset, and leadership, also including resilience and performing under immense pressure. He also explains how Success by Emotions is designed to help people reduce doubt, develop emotional consistency, and move towards their goals with better confidence and clarity of purpose. His remarkable career provides decades of examples of these principles in action. In 1961, when the Berlin Wall went up, he served in Germany as the report of survey officer for the entire 7th Army, later receiving the 7th Army Certificate of Achievement. He went on to supplement his career in financial planning, mortgage banking, investing, performance coaching, entrepreneurship, and healthcare innovation. His influence has also extended into elite athletics. In the mid-1980s, Bob introduced the University of Utah's football program to Success by Emotions, and years later, Coach Urban Meyer asked him to work with 6 players in the offseason, 4 of which transitioned into careers in the NFL. He's also previously worked with basketball player Johnny Bryant, who is now an assistant coach, helping him to improve his free throw percentage by 10 points. Bob's business career has been as equally expansive. He co-founded TRI Financial in 1987 during a tumultuous and turbulent financial time, eventually helping to build a loan portfolio of more than $2 billion. In 2000, he helped his son and a partner launch Arlington Value Management. And since 2010, he's invested in startups, particularly companies pursuing healthcare innovation in the fields of therapeutics and diagnostics. Throughout these experiences, Bob continues to centralize and focus on one fundamental question: why do people with similar knowledge, talent, and opportunities often achieve dramatically different results? And his answer often comes back to emotions. And he joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShan. Let's have this conversation. Absolutely. So, Bob, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program. And I'm super excited to learn about social and emotional learning with you this afternoon. It's great to see you and happy Monday to you, my friend.
Things are good.
Absolutely. So, Bob, I know that you created this tool to give people more confidence and clarity within their emotions. So, tell me about the social and emotional learning tool and why you created it, my friend.
Well, I stumbled upon it about over 50 years ago when I was struggling to succeed financially. And I tried to sell life insurance, failed, used my MBA to work for a corporation in New York, succeeded there, but realized I wanted to be on my own. And so I went back to selling life insurance and struggled. And then I discovered this tool, and it allowed me to rapidly changed my mindset from somebody who was struggling to somebody who'd already succeeded. And then I went on to a number of successes. And then about 5 years ago, I wanted to understand it better. And so I spent some time writing about it. And after a year, I realized it was much more powerful than I'd before imagined. And I used it then to become a better person. Now, the first time I flipped my scale and went from and created a positive mindset, it took me 3 weeks. To become a better person took me about 7 days. Now I have people write their goal on a piece of paper and then just hold that piece of paper and say the emotions, and they create the same thing. But the thing that's really amazing is that once you have a mindset of success, when things go wrong, you deal with them differently. 40 years ago, when things would go wrong, I'd say, well, if life gives me lemon, I'll make lemonade and sell it at a profit. Now I've taken it to a step higher. When something goes wrong, I say, this is there to teach me something. I should be grateful for it. I should be grateful that I've got this struggle, this setback, this challenge, um, and use it to gain more alignment with my higher power, because that's where a lot of the goodness comes from. And then after I get this alignment, increased love, increased gratitude, then I can say, what is this setback or this struggle trying to teach me? And the answer comes much easier. And I think it's this can be, and I've just hit this in the last couple of days, so I can't explain it very well. But I think it's the same way with our goals. When we want to accomplish something, instead of jumping in and working on it, maybe be thankful that we're able to even approach this. We're able to even think about it and have gratitude for where we already are and gain peace with where we already are, and do that before we start working on the goal, and then use this tool to create a mindset of somebody who's already succeeded. But in doing that, as we achieve success, we've also come from a place of peace. So we've got peace and success at the same time. And before I just really understood this tool, I was pretty interested in being special. And I got lots and lots of success because I was driven to be special. Then, as I've used the tool, I've moved from being special to being more human with strengths and weaknesses. But in being human, I can also be at peace. When I was being special, I couldn't be at peace. So now I'm at peace, And so the tool allows me to first know I can remind myself that when I was a baby, I was okay. I'm still that person. I should be at peace now, and then go from a point of peace, use the tool, and succeed. So it's kind of different than even when I talked to you before before you had your setback.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob, I'm also curious to ask you about emotional consistency and what you've learned about the concept of emotional consistency over the years doing this type of work. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, the tool is really big in using emotions. What most of us are taught when we're little kids, be careful of your emotions, they'll get you in trouble. Emotions lead to road rage and all sorts of, get in fights and all sorts of things if your emotions are in control. But the emotions really control our subconscious mind as well. And when we try to change, our subconscious mind keeps us from changing. It keeps us staying the way we are. And the ideas that are in our subconscious mind that keep us the way we are held in place by emotions. And so what we do with this tool is we have a goal sheet and I write down my goal and then I write down some benefits and then I write down some emotions and I read my goal and read the emotions. Then I read the first benefit and read the emotions. Read the second benefit and read the emotions. And the idea is just keeps reading those words. Some of my words are gratitude, happiness, and peace. And I found something magic that happens is I say gratitude, happiness, and peace in relation to a goal. As I accumulate enough, it kind of switches the scale and I get a mindset of somebody who can achieve my goal. Then I have I've gained more emotions on the on the side of that I can succeed that were holding the ideas that say I couldn't succeed in place. And so now I know I can succeed and success is much easier. And you can be also use the tool and begin with a place of peace. So you have peace and happiness during your journey, and your journey goes faster because you remove the things that are holding you back.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I'm also curious to ask you, why do you think a lot of people overlook their emotions? Because I know a lot of your work centers around taking a deeper look into our emotions. So why do you think so many people overlook their emotions? And what do you think people are missing out on if they're not studying how their emotional state affects the rest of their lives? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, I just think that our emotions can just bounce around. The wonderful thing about this tool is that actions trigger feelings and feelings trigger actions. So as I pinch this sheet that I've written my goals on, that creates a feeling that causes me to then take the action to read the emotions. And as I read the emotions, that creates an emotion and accumulates emotions so that I can change my mindset to somebody who's already succeeded. So it's kind of getting more control over those emotions by putting them on a sheet and reading them.
Yeah, absolutely. And My friend, I know you spent some time in the armed forces during the putting up of the Berlin Wall in 1961, and I'm curious, what did your time in the service teach you about leadership and social and emotional learning, my friend?
Well, I was really thrown into the fire. I was a second lieutenant when the Berlin Wall went up. I just finished college and just been commissioned as a second lieutenant. I went to finance officer orientation course for 6 or 8 weeks, and then I went to Germany. And when I got to Germany, I was probably the oldest second lieutenant coming in because I had spent an extra year in the second grade and worked my way through college and spent some extra time. And so instead of assigning me to a finance office, they assigned me to the 7th Army headquarters in the finance department. In fact, I was in the command, guess I was in the office. I don't know where I was, but I was told to read finance manuals. And I did for 2 or 3 weeks. And then they had me, I guess they were watching me to see if I could handle it. And then as a second lieutenant, they had me replace a major. And as a major, the major was reviewing the work of colonels and lieutenant colonels so that he could judge if their reports of survey were okay. So here I am now as a second lieutenant judging the work of trying to get lieutenant colonels to fix what they've written so that I can deal with it. And that was that was the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob, during the course of your career, I know that you've dabbled in both business investing and performance coaching, my friend, and you've studied why two people with similar knowledge and opportunities achieve completely different outcomes, my friend. And I'm wondering, what have you discovered about the role that emotions play in our sense of achievement, and why can they be so different if we have similar experiences? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, once I discovered this tool if they go to bobraybould.com, they can find out about it. We're just releasing next month a program of 28 videos that describe the tool and how to use it. But once I discovered the tool, I could change my mindset and I just kept succeeding. I was one of the first financial planners in the Western United States. And then we started doing real estate and started a real estate investment company that turned out to be very successful. And then in 1986, they changed the tax law. Luckily, between 1980 and 84, we'd sold all our real estate, so we made a lot of money for our investors. And when they changed the tax law, it dropped the value of real estate about 25 or 30%. And that put all the savings and loans out of business. And so a friend of mine and I saw this as an opportunity and started a mortgage banking company to make loans on apartment houses. And we did that for a number of years. And then I helped my son and his partner start a money management company, and that was successful. And during this process, I sold the first oil field that had ever been sold to an insurance company. And all of these things were possible because I was able to change my mindset to somebody who'd already succeeded before I started the journey. So I was using emotions to change my mindset, and that allowed me to control my future more effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob, I'm curious to get your opinion on how emotional sort of intelligence and leadership Our emotional consistency affects things like leadership in business and the relationships that we establish as we navigate this increasingly complex world. So, what does emotional consistency tell us about relationships in business, my friend?
Well, if you look at everybody that's ever been successful, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, Michael Jordan, I mean, whoever succeeded, Tom Brady, they've all gained a mindset of success so that they were in control of their lives and could move forward. The wonderful thing about this tool is it's allowed me to succeed in about 8 different industries, because if you can create a mindset of success before you start rather than during the process, you just have so much the advantage.
I was in the process of asking you about leadership being both a strategic priority, but you also argue that it can be an emotional imperative. And during the course of our conversation, you've outlined part of that. But how do you think strategic priorities can also be an emotional imperative to success, my friend? So, how do you think emotional intelligence and strategic priorities can be interconnected? What are your thoughts there?
That's a great question. Because I've got this tool that I use emotions to create my mindset then controls how I act, because our subconscious minds are so powerful. Usually we're fighting them when we try to succeed. This tool allows me to get my subconscious mind helping me succeed, and that really puts me in, that really controls my emotions. It gives me access to the powers of the universe. It just opens so many doors to success that my journey is really different than most, because I know I'm going to succeed before I start, and that makes me more open to all the ideas that'll help me succeed, instead of having to fight through the ones that are holding me back before I get to the ones that help me succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob, I know that earlier in your career you worked with the University of Utah and one of their former football coaches, Urban Meyer, to help elite sports athletes with their emotional intelligence and their social emotional learning. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on your career working with high performance athletes, and how do you think social and emotional learning can help athletes succeed at the highest level? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, one thing I learned is that athletes' minds just run all over the block when a kid starts to college. I mean, his mind is like a wild horse, and it's hard for him to concentrate. And one of the things I taught the athletes early on was to look at their thumb and try to concentrate just on their thumbnail. And when they quit being able to do that, to look up. And those kids would last 5 or 6 seconds and then look up. That's as long as they could concentrate. Then I taught them, if they just force themselves to fight that emotional struggle and lock in, then they'd be able to concentrate for a minute or two. And they were able to do that, and that helped them. And that helped me a lot with kickers, because coaches would let me work with their kickers, and I had a lot of success there. And when Urban came, I got him to let me work with his kickers, and I had enough success with his place kickers and his punters and the long snappers that he let me work with 6 players in the off season. And one of them was a receiver, one was a tight end, and 4 of them were down linemen, defensive players. And for those 4, the receiver went on to play in the Canadian Football League. The 4 I worked with went on to play in the NFL, and the other one quit playing. The tight end quit playing football, so he decided he didn't want to pay the price. But then, having had so much success with those 6 players, Urban let me really work with all the players during that undefeated season. And that season, I stood next to him on the practice field and talked to him about practice while practice was going on. And for a little kid who's never big enough to play football to be on the practice field with a team that goes undefeated was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, Bob, you're still working within this field within your 90s, my friend. So, what do you think is the secret to your longevity, and why is it important to you to continue to spread this message at your current age, my friend? Tell me more.
Yeah, you probably haven't had many 90-year-olds on your podcast.
You're
And
right about that. Yeah.
I've just been blessed with great genes, and I have this tool, and I think it's entirely different than whatever anybody else is using, and more effective because it'll help them find success in half the time, gain certainty of success, and have a joyful journey. And now I think will help them begin with a level of peace so they have peace during the journey and after success. I just want to share that with as many people as I can. And so I've put together these 28 videos that form of this program, and I'm just want to share it and get people to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Bob, I know that you've spent decades studying what truly drives a human performance. And now, when we strip away the fluff and everything that goes along with societal pressure, what do you think truly drives human performance and causes people to maximize the fullest heights of their potential? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, I think we all have enormous potential beyond what any of us are demonstrating. And when we're born, we can do anything. We learn to walk, talk, learn whatever language and country we live in. We learn to read, ride a bike, paint. But now, as the years go by, we pick up ideas that keep us from seeing we have the ability. And most of these ideas come from our ancestors, and they're passed down with emotional strength. And we can think, I'm going to get rid of these ideas, but we just go in circles. And what I found is that as you use this goal sheet and accumulate emotions and pinch this paper, somehow magic happens and you change your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you just get rid of these ideas that are holding you back and acquire ideas that help you succeed. It's kind of magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Bob, I'm someone who firmly believes in the concept of lifelong learning. So if you're an entrepreneur, executive, or someone, or even a high performance athlete, or someone that simply wants to maximize the truest heights of their fullest potential, what do you think lifelong learning means to you, my friend, and what one practical lesson you think anyone that wants to be a lifelong learner should take away from this conversation?
Well, that's a great question. And I hate saying the answer over and over again that's similar, but our emotions are so powerful that they can keep us just the way we are, or by setting a goal and accumulating emotions in connection with the idea that we've succeeded, we can actually change our mindset, which causes our subconscious mind, which is incredibly powerful, to help us succeed. And until we do that, our subconscious mind is fighting us and holding us back. I mean, that's what I think is so unique about this tool is it allows you to change your subconscious mind so it helps you succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And, looking upon your more than 5 decades in professional life, I'm curious to ask you about what you've learned about success, both in business and in life, my friend. What are some practical lessons you can share about the wisdom and acquiring wisdom about success? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, Henry Ford said it very well. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're absolutely right. And the tool allows a person to go from thinking they can't to being certain they can, and then they cooperate with themselves and succeed. And as long as they think they can't, they cooperate with themselves and struggle.
Yeah,
So it's being able to rapidly change your mindset really changes everything.
yeah, absolutely. And, Bob, I'm curious to ask you about the evolving definition of social and emotional learning. And what do you think social and emotional learning can teach us about healing the societal divisions that we face as a society today? What do you think this tool and social and emotional learning at large can teach us about healing and working through the societal divisions that exist today? What are your thoughts there?
Well, that's a great question. Once you once your mindset tells you you'll succeed, and you have this certainty of success, you're just so much more calm. And the fact that you can do it on one goal, really, you can extrapolate and say, I can do it on others. And the more times you use it in your life, in different areas of your life, the more certainty you get in your whole life, and the more calm and peaceful and secure you are as a person. But it starts small. You start using the tool and learning to use it, and then go to a goal and another goal and another goal, and your security and your certainty of success and certainty of being able to deal with it, whatever comes up, grows. And life gets easy. I mean, I'm happy 90% of the time, and I'm successful 95% of the time. And I'm at peace 95% of the time. And we're always going to have things that disrupt our lives because they give us lessons to learn. And so I enjoy when the struggles come because they are carrying me a message that it's going to help me be better in the future.
Yeah, and just one final follow-up before I ask you my last question. Based on your last answer, I'm curious to get your thoughts on, uh, the effective implementation of a growth mindset and how social and emotional learning can help us really elevate our growth mindset, not only at work, but in life as well. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, that's a great question. Once we have a mindset of success in for any problem, it just compels us to figure out how to solve that problem. And once we have a mindset that says we're not going to succeed, our mind is figuring out ways to keep us from succeeding. And the mindset just opens the door to gain emotional strength, intellectual strength, maturity. You know, I think honesty is the best policy. And if it didn't exist, we had to invent it as the best way to get successful or get rich. And the more we become solid as a person, the easier it is to grow from there. And so, as I've used this tool to become a better person, it's just established a foundation I can grow from. And when I didn't have that foundation in place, it was tougher to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And, my final question has to do with your personal and professional legacy and how you want your legacy to be defined. What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Well, I just want to know that I've done as much as I can, and that's why I'm still at 90 trying to do more to help people understand this tool so they can have the peace and success and certainty and happy journey that this tool provides. I mean, not worried about Bob's legacy. I'm worried about helping others create a better legacy for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And tell me if people want to get connected with this tool or the book that you've written with the same title. What's the best way they can accomplish that goal, my friend?
To go to bobraybould.com and we'll tell them about the tool, and then they can join our program and get these 28 videos that explain it in depth.
Well, fabulous, my friend. I want to thank you for your commitment to making this world a socially acceptable and emotionally consistent place, and for all of the work that you've done in the field of community and social services, my friend. I really enjoyed engaging in conversation with you this afternoon, and I want to thank you for being here today. It's most appreciated.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a great privilege and a great honor to be on your program. You're a great man, and it's obvious you're doing a great thing yourself.